that were consolidated. The petitions of APM, petition of PDP, and that of the Labour Party. Of course, they were all consolidated, and the judgment had to be given in the same date. But let's commend them for their effort. The judgment started exactly 9:25 a.m. and it ended at 9:45 p.m. in the evening. It was quite amazing, and we need to commend the justices for their efforts and for the hard work in that judgment.
It was about 790 something pages. I saw somebody saying I got a PDF, 790 something pages.
798 pages.
Is that the rigor that the people on the bench have to go through?
When you are writing a judgment, and your judgment, when you want to write a full judgment, you need to consider several issues. You remember that in those petitions, there are several preliminary objections raised by the respondent. And before going to the merit of the judgment, the court must consider the merit of the objections first. The motions, about 5 or 7 applications were decided on that day, which are quite lengthy. After that, the court will now go to the merit of the petition. That was why what accounted for the volume of that judgment. Because when you are doing judgment, you have to consider all the issues raised by all the council, the reasoning behind their issues, and before you now go to your whole reason, truth and conclusions. So that's why we have that 798 pages judgment.
You've got to pardon me for that introduction. He's a title chief. He's Are Abiola Iseka Olaguyi. Pardon that oversight.
It doesn't matter.
He's the title.
I still remain Mr.
Appropriately doctor was with. And then the rigor. You know, people observe that the rigor, the physical rigor that the justices and the judges, whether the lower or the bench or wherever, is it the same from top to bottom?
Well, when you want to consider the nature of the case before you, this case is called election petition, which is quite generic, and the effort we put into that kind of effort in giving that judgment are quite different from other civil cases. For example, now the number of witnesses that will be called, the number of exhibits that will be tendered, and as I said earlier on, the number of objections. So definitely it has to be lengthy and well researched, and that's exactly what we had on Thursday when the court were giving that judgment.
Now to the content of the petitions. Let's take the case of APM for instance. It was about the candidature of Shetima, and I think it was for that reason that the justices awarded costs against the APM.
Well, I have not sincerely about the cost. I must say that I have not read that.
Yes,
except what was
13 million was awarded against.
No. The parties were
frivolous. That was the word. For frivolous.
Well, I have not sincerely. I have not read that. But notwithstanding, they deserve to be awarded that cost, if at all there was a cost. Because that issue, they should know that it was the prerogative of the presidential candidates to nominate whoever he wants as his vice president. And it doesn't call for any dispute at all.
Outside the party.
Outside the party. And that's exactly what the Supreme Court said.
It's a double nomination. He was a candidate for the Senate.
Well, the evidence was tendered at the court to show that he actually immediately received the nomination to be vice president of the president. He tendered his resignation at the Senate. I know that he held both offices at the same time. And that was exactly what the court found.
Now, another issue is the issue of Abuja, the status of Abuja. On the radio stations or TV stations, people that do not know anything about law or the intendments of the framers of the Constitution, we heard them day in, day out, and the Constitution says, 25% in 31st state, 20 state, and Abuja. And they were
Abuja resident, the honor did not deserve. What happened in other states?
the federating unit.
Exactly. So
Abuja is not even a federating unit.
I'm not surprised about that decision because the issue has been settled a long time ago. So I wasn't surprised at all. And any serious advocate will not be surprised about that decision. Because that has been the law. Abuja cannot have a special conferment above another state. All the states are equal. All the states are equal. It doesn't matter whether you live in Abuja or you live outside Abuja. Under the law, you are all equal.
And then there is also this issue about the presidential candidate then of the APC, dual citizenship, the issue of his certificate. They were not able to prove their case. That has always been the issue that the justices harped on, that they were not able to, in terms of evidence, prove their case.
Well, it shows a sentiment we always attach to several issues in Nigeria. It is very clear that when you're in court, you must have your evidence that can be duly admitted with you before you approach court. And it's quite unfortunate that when the petitioners went to court, they only relied on sentiment on social media environment. And the court is not a marketplace that you go to marketplace to go and fish for evidence. You must bring your evidence before the court, and unfortunately they didn't have that evidence. No such evidence was brought to the court. And on the issue of forfeiture of asset, it is very clear under our Forfeiture Act that it is not strictly a criminal act. If the presidential candidate that time was arraigned and convicted, that's an separate issue. That what happened at that time was what we can call a civil matter. And the constitution also said that if you are liable on a civil matter, you can't be president. So if you have been convicted on a crime relating to fraud or dishonesty, it was very specific, and there was no conviction. They did not. Let me say that they did not bring evidence of such a conviction against the president for him to show that he's not entitled to contest for the president of this country. So the court was in order in ensuring nullifying that grant. And mind you, they raised the issue of one of their grounds of petition was that they were raising the issue of corruption, and that was one of the facts pleaded by them in their pleadings. When you raise the issue of corruption in an election petition, that fact must be proved beyond reasonable doubt. There is no room for speculation. There is no room for anxiety. It must be fact that is clear, unambiguous, and that can be tendered and admitted by court. Unfortunately, did not conform with that. So the court was in order in nullifying their petition.
Is there? I spoke with somebody who was on the team of the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he said, "Look, that man is a planner. That the legal team was assembled 5 or 6 weeks before the election itself. That they even sent their own team of observers, and they gave them specific instructions on what to look for at the polling stations, and they were sending information straight back to the situation room. Preparedness. Because if the court said they didn't provide evidence, does it? Are there some people in the legal profession who specializes in election petitions, and you must learn some things, over the years before you perfect your operations in the area of litigation in election petitions?
Well, though our practice in Nigeria is fused, but everybody has his own area of interest. I won't call it specialization because our law allows us to, being a lawyer, if you are called to the bar here, you can practice both as a barrister and solicitor of the Court of Nigeria. But you may have your own area of interest. And as counsel, other parties are no, they are not true. But you can't compare the the level of their experiences, the level of their acceptance when it comes to the election matters with that of the APC. They are quite different.
Okay. So, and of course, that more this is reflecting the input of both parties, definitely. I mean, and anyway.
And at the same time, you must also understand that the president himself is a field marshal when it comes to election matters. He has been there since the field marshal. He has been there since 1999, and he has handled so many election matters. So it's not somebody you can wish away. I can put behind that. Look, he has enough experience. He has the experience. He's a strategist, and people that surround him are all strategists too. So I don't expect anything less from the team.
Another issue that generated a lot of debate was the issue of INEC, the umpire of that election. Before the election, INEC was telling us, assuring the public, the Beavers is a game changer. The IRF is also a game changer. Of course, because of our location, we know that there are 3 levels of law: the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and of course, even the INEC guidelines. Now, people started saying, no, INEC did not upload the presidential election results, and the 2 other elections that were held that same day, the National Assembly elections, House of Representatives and Senate, were uploaded real time. They did not upload on IREF the presidential election result. Therefore, INEC has violated the provisions of its own rules, that if you make a rule, you must adhere by it. If you don't, you have broken, as far as they are concerned, you have broken the rules of engagement. But the justices of the appeal court thought otherwise. What is the difference between the provisions of the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and the INEC guidelines to itself?
Well, let me start by saying that election is a process, and the last election was guided by the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. The INEC guideline, election guideline, is a product of Electoral Act that can never be superior to Electoral Act. I don't know the concern of people who are raising the issue. If they have gone to read the Electoral Act, it's very clear on what happened on the day of election. The first thing you do is to have and the voters present at that poll unit. After that process, the result will be announced. When the result is announced, that result will be imputed in what we call Form EC8A at the polling unit. That is the Form EC8A in the polling unit. That is very, very important. It was then you now use your beaver machine, your beaver machine on your phone to upload the result. Not that you are imputing the result in the beavers. No, you are not imputing the result in the beavers. What you are doing is that the result that has been announced and declared is now uploaded into IRF. So what matters most is that EC8A. Where that EC8A, where there is no confusion in the EC8A, it is clear whether you upload it in the IRF or not. That's not it. That's even the law says that after the result has been announced and recorded in Form EC8A, the polling unit agent shall transmit the result in the manner as prescribed by INEC.
That's the Electoral Act.
It is very clear. It said in the manner as prescribed. That is a law. That is above any other thing. So I can decide to say, okay, probably at the time of after the vote has been cast and announced, there's a network issue. A presiding officer cannot upload the result. He can transmit it in any other way. He can use his phone, he can use any other thing to transmit, or even send it to the collection center for uploading. That does not nullify the election. So the issues they are raising that they have not uploaded, no, that's not the issue. Mind you, even in their pleading, they did not even specifically mention what are the polling units that were affected by not uploading that from EC8A. They said they will prove that through a forensic report and a spreadsheet. Mind you, they did not put that in their pleading.
So you cannot come in.
You cannot come in.
The
It is not because you must be specific. If you are saying that there's overvoting, you must mention that is it what unit? Is it poll unit 21, ward 4 at South local government that we have overvoting? You must mention it. Is it somewhere in Sokoto, poll unit 321, ward 5 in Sokoto that we have irregularity? You must mention it. But they were so generic. They were so generic that they were overvoting. They did not comply with the Electoral Act. So many issues like that. Without mentioning the specific unit, the specific ward, specific local government, and specific state, and that was one of the reasons raised by the justices in the judgment. That look, they are not market women and men.
No, we're gonna shop for evidence.
You can shop for evidence. You must bring the evidence, and there was no evidence. They didn't bring any evidence.
LP called it 13, and even out of the 13 that they called, to prove that the LP won election nationwide, over 100,000 polling units. Called 13, and 10 out of the 13 were, according to the report, nullified. So, you want to use 3 witnesses to prove election victory in 1 million square miles of this country? Because people out there don't understand. They tend to get carried away. The role of the social media now, well, the medium, but people got carried away. They believed the case of the Labour Party and the PDP. They believed in it, what they were saying, and it looked like those who were even. There was a particular legal practitioner who is very well known in the social media space. It was only later that somebody was telling me that he was never really a part of the legal team, and the way he was interfacing with the public, he was believed. How does the legal profession maintain some level of discipline in the conduct of the members?
Well, let me start by saying that may God forbid, if there's going to be any war in this country, that war will be caused by social media posting. Many of those people that post things on social media, they lack knowledge or understanding. And whenever it is posted, people too that lack knowledge and understanding tend to believe in them. I see no reason. There are established judgments already. I said around, there's nothing novel about this judgment. There's nothing novel about it. It has been established before now. Not that they conjured their decision. No, they relied on the earlier decided Supreme Court cases that have been decided. Let me give you an example on the matter of evidence that you need in proving your cases in election matters. The Supreme Court has said that look, for you to prove those evidence, you must call the polling unit agent one by one. It's the polling unit agent that will tender your form ECTA. In all, we have over 776,000 polling units in Nigeria. Now, out of that, you are calling 13. Assuming all the 13 were even called, let's agree that there was no notification of any of the witnesses. Are the 13 witnesses enough to prove 778,000 polling units? As you are in Okaidoya, can you be in Bodija at the same time? It's not possible. And they did not even call a single polling unit agent to prove their case. It's very clear. It's either they assume that they have so much absorption that whatever they want to tender is good enough for them, for the judgment to be given in their favor, which is not the position of the law. The law is very clear about it. Everything must be proved according to the law. Any other person, sometimes too, one tend to be very, very circumspect about it. When you hear some lawyers talking on social media, or person, we ask ourselves, are these people actually legal practitioners? Some may be called as lawyers, but are they really advocates? Do they have experience in election matters? Have they really handled any one of them? How many of them have handled election matters before? How many of them? You can, anybody that you see that talks like that, just Google the person. How many cases has he handled? Does he have an experience? Does he even have the experience? Many of them, as I'm talking to you, have not even read any page of that judgment, and they're criticizing the judgment. They have not read it. They have not even seen it, except what it was supposed to. They have not even read it. They don't even know what is the fulcrum of that judgment, the reasoning behind decisions of the justices of the court of appeal. They have not even read it. They don't even know, but they base their submission on what they also read on social media. So it is falsehood plus falsehood. It will be, what will be the answer?
Falsehood plus.
So that's exactly what's happening.
It's a pro max falsehood. Still in the area of discipline. When we're talking about the issue of frivolities being brought before the court, which the court seriously frowned at, I was told that there was a particular case in a British court, and when the lawyer presented, a Queen's counsel for that matter, presented his case, the judge asked, "Are you aware of so case regarding this matter?" He said no. Okay, and he was immediately provided, and he said, and immediately withdrew his case. But you know, a follow-up was done, and it was seen that he had logged in and apparently read that particular judgment, and he was still punished for being frivolous that he had already read before going to court with that petition. I mean, that's a very serious thing.
I read about that scenario. What the court did was to suspend him for 5 years.
Yes.
Something for 5 years.
5 years.
The courts are doing that now in Nigeria. No fear. In Nigeria now, just that the process is very low. There are cases. Before now, there were cases handled by some lawyers when it got to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court slammed them with heavy cost, up to 20-30 million, to be paid by the lawyers of the party that came to court. And we need to increase that. We need to go further than that. Any frivolous application of frivolous cases before the court, apart from dismissing the suit, ordering the court, the counsel too must be sent to the LDPC. That is Legal Personal Disciplinary Committee for appropriate sanction. We need to do that, because otherwise we do that, things are just getting, let me get in quotes, getting better. Things are just getting better, and we must use some people who are recalcitrant in destroying this country as scapegoats. As I said earlier, many of them have not even read judgment, or have not even read the Electoral Act. But they start castigating the judges, they start castigating the system and the process, which is wrong. So I will take at our next meeting. I can assure you, some of us will take it up, that we should make a resolution to the Supreme Court that any counsel involved in frivolous matters, apart from awarding costs against him, must also be made to face the Legal Personal Disciplinary Committee for appropriate sanction.
Because at the end of the day, they slow down the processes.
Exactly.
They slow down the processes. There is something that I've learned since I remember one gubernatorial petition in Oyo State, 2007, substantial compliance. What constitutes substantial compliance? To me and to the people out there, what constitutes substantial compliance? So is it what constitutes it in the eyes of the judges? What is it that constitutes substantial compliance or non-compliance with the electoral?
Well, let's start. Before you go into substantial compliance, you must also look at the election. If any electoral body wants to conduct election, it will say he wants to conduct election that will be transparent, that will be credible, that will be free and fair. It didn't say that the election will be free and good, or free and better, free and fair. I think everybody will be happy that it's fair enough. Fine. Now, substantial compliance means compliance with the rule, with the provision of the law, not the dictate of the justices or the electoral umpire. No. Compliance with the provision of the law. There can never be perfect election anywhere. There can never be perfect election anywhere. So any election that that substantially complies with the provision of the law is seen to be credible. Any election that does not comply substantially with the provision of the law is that election ought to be nullified. That's just it.
Now, people say the judges have a lot of
unit to mention the ward, to mention the local government, to mention the state. Now, you have make a generic pleading in your pleadings of that petition concerning the allegations. Will the court would answer because you have mentioned this, you have mentioned that the generic fact, will not because of that no grant your wish, grant your relief? No, that means that's no. The court will not do that. It has to be substantial. It must be specific. And I've read the judgment. The only state, only I think in 2 paragraphs. That was where the plaintiffs raised the issue of in Benue and Rivers State. Even in Benue and Rivers State, they did not even state the polling unit. They did not bring
even their specifics.
They did not state the polling unit. They did not call any polling unit agent, those polling units as witnesses. They didn't call it.
And they are the authorized.
They are the one that represented them during the election. They were the one that saw everything. So the court will not know which of the polling units are you talking about. Fine, you have mentioned Rivers and Benue State. Which of the polling units are you talking
about? People think that the processes, especially litigations. I remember in the case of Osun, the sitting governor then had spent 3.5 years before judgment was delivered, and 3.5 years. Now we have been in this cycle, June, July, August, September, and we're still not done yet. Maybe the whole thing will take maybe another 60 days or thereabouts, and that will add up to about 6 months. People are saying that, isn't it better that we dispense with litigation before putting people into office? You know, there's this Nigerian thing that you put a president in office, how are you going to remove him?
Well, that will amount to the amendment of the Constitution. As at now, the Constitution is very clear in terms of, and the Electoral Act, in terms of the days in which election has to be conducted before the end of the tenure. I agree for transparency and credibility. If it's possible, we have our election at least about a year before the end of the tenure.
About 6 months.
6 months. Well, let's say 6 months. Let's say a year, or 7 or 8 months, because within 6 months, all electoral matters ought to have been concluded. So let's say about 8 months. It is possible, can be achieved, but we have to amend the Constitution and the Electoral Act before you can do that.
Is it the court processes that are so cumbersome? Can't we? And I see that it is even better now. We had 3.5 years before. I mean, they are being dispensed with now. Is it the processes? Because I remember people will call 50, 70, 100 witnesses. You know, it doesn't happen anymore. You do your deposition. So, have we evolved?
Well, let me say that we are evolving. Not that we are evolving. It is getting better. We need what we need to have is just a trust and confidence in the process. In all fairness, things are actually improving when we talk of management of elections in Nigeria. What we had in 2003 is not what we are having now.
Yeah, that was one Baba called names.
Yeah, things are changing for the better, and there are rooms for improvement. I can assure you that before the next election, many things would have improved. But above all, what we need to do is to plead with our politicians. The problem is not the judiciary. The problem are the politicians. They are the ones that will engage in rigging. They are the ones that will engage in electoral malpractice. That will be the ones that will engage in violence and any other atrocity during election. And as lawyers, whether what you need to present to a lawyer is an arguable matter. It doesn't mean that your matter will be successful, but is it arguable? Is this something that can be argued? You can take a chance and advise you, but notwithstanding, there are some cases that you know that this case is frivolous. Don't need to go for that. And I personally, I'm not firm, don't do that, and other senior counsel too do engage in that. When we say that this matter is bad, there is nothing we can do, we always advise the client, please, I advise you to forget about this case or settle this matter amicably instead of engaging in frivolous matters.
Incidentally, too, you wear two caps today as a learned silk and, of course, as the chairman of an electoral body. I want to talk about political socialization. Nigerians, we Nigerians, the way we conduct ourselves. How have you, when interfacing, one, you of course you interface with political parties, you interface with their chieftains, you interface, of course you interface with, in the processes, the electorate too. What challenges have you seen with the parties, the actors, and even the electorate in their conduct? Do they have an understanding of what democracy is about?
Well, very, very, very unfortunate and a very vital question. The challenge any electoral manager will have concerning political socialization of the country is that trust and confidence in the system. And of course, I've been a victim of that. I'm still a victim. That no matter the assurances you give a politician, or no matter the processes you want to set up to ensure that that process is credible and transparent, our politician will always find a way to thwart it. That's one. Subversion.
Of processes.
Oh, yes. Secondly, the electorate itself that you are fighting for, even all the pleadings, all the assurances, they won't still believe you. But I don't blame the electorate, because they have what they call of trust. Because of their experiences, they are, because other people had come before you, before us, they have assured them that done so many things. At the end of the day, they have not realized their ambition. Because of that, they have closed their minds on so many things which ordinarily it shouldn't be. Concerning, or like, let me give you, please allow me to be specific. Concerning
please.
our own
yes.
Local
That's why I say you are wearing two caps.
local government election. You know, in some time past, the record that we had was that they have about 9% turnout of registered voters. The highest was 12.5%, and this was quite appalling. We went around the entire state to appeal to the electorate to come out and cast their votes. We met all the political parties, but unfortunately, even after all the effort, all the trouble we went through, we could only record 29.6%.
But that's an improvement.
So an improvement was only,
that's double what was more than double what was about.
But it wasn't good enough.
But if you do 100% improvement, that's
wasn't good enough. And that was the time I was in the radio station. I was talking. I was sharing the populace that look, this time around, the election will be credible. That we are going to ensure that the vote will count, and we are going to rely on the results that come out from the polling unit. Immediately after my speech, one man just made a call. Man said, "Hey, you are a liar. You are a liar. You will write the results." I said,
The right result.
I said, "But you haven't met me. I haven't met you. I don't even know you. I'm sure you don't know me." And at that point, I just kept quiet. Look, this is a serious issue. But this time around, things have improved.
You write the result.
Yeah.
You write the result of all the polling units.
You write the results. But we thank God things have improved now. And I can compare the scenario of what we had in 2020, 2021, and what we're having now. By 2021, already have about 5 or even about 10 cases in court challenging, I would say, even challenging the primaries of political parties. Of course, I would say will be sued.
Yeah.
But this time around, so far we have not been served any process from the political parties. Our table is still free. And secondly, all of the political parties in the country are willing to participate in the election. And I'm quite glad about that we're all willing to participate on our own. What we intend to do and what we should do is to ensure that transparency is maintained, that trust is maintained, that confidentiality is maintained, because we need to do it right. We must get this is our country. Nobody will do it for us. We have to do it by ourselves. So on our own part, we ensure that the legacy we want to give is that when it comes to local government council in the states, the election will come, the election will go. What will remain is that election is transparent, that election is credible, and that election is free and fair.
I remember before that particular election, you said one of our colleagues said, "Are you actually going to hold the election?"
Yes.
About prosecution, and that looks like a gap, because if there is no punishment, people would tend to go and do the same things again.
I think the offenders will be prosecuted very soon. There is going to be a special court
Even at the state?
at the state. There will be a special court. What we intend to do now is that, in conjunction with the state judiciary, to give us a court that will be in charge of punishing people, punishing the electoral offenders.
So that won't go to the regular court and won't suffer.
No, won't suffer the delay.
Okay. And still talking about, sensitization. I saw that you Oshek had to do a lot of sensitization by itself. What happened to the parties? This is one of the rules of the parties. Have they abandoned their role? Are you trying to get them back to play their role?
Let me see. What happened at the last election was that, as I said earlier on, that there was no trust and there was no confidence, and most of the political parties didn't actually come out to campaign as they should do. But this time around, with all political parties involved in the election now, things will be different. I can assure you, your station will be bombarded with several adverts and promotions from the political parties.
Because they know they need to campaign.
I can assure you of that.
Now, looking at the Electoral Act 2022, what would you think needs to be improved on in terms of the processes, especially?
Well, I want, my own concern is about the electronic voting. We need to improve on that. You can see, if you have read the pleadings of the Labour Party, what they are actually raising is about electronic voting, which unfortunately they could not plead adequately in their petition. I think there must be specific provisions in the Electoral Act. Instead of Electoral Act saying that the result will be transmitted in the manner as directed by the Commission, let it be specific from the Electoral Act. How will it be transmitted? But what will happen? Because the provision talks about transmission. What before transmission? What time before transmission? Must I be in the polling unit where I can vote? I should be able to accredit from the comfort of my house. I should be able to vote from the comfort of my house. All these things need to be done. That's what we call proper electronic voting. But the law has not given them that opportunity. I pray that before the next election, this will be done by the legislators to ensure that from anywhere in the world, whether in diaspora or anywhere you are, you can vote from the comfort of your house.
Yes, diaspora. I hope too that something will be done about Nigerians in diaspora. Some of the things that happened, two senatorial tickets, that of Senator Lawan and now the Senate President, for the layman out there, for we laymen out there that are not learned, the Electoral Act says you cannot run for two offices at the same time. These are two gentlemen that ran for the ticket, presidential ticket, and then after losing in the eyes, right before the eyes of the whole world, they went back and got this same election process. They went back and got senatorial ticket. How is that possible?
If you let me just guide you about the fact. Senator Lawan and Akpabio, they did not run for Senate and President at the same time. No, it wasn't at the same time. After they lost the ticket to presidency, they went back to their constituency. As regards, then probably there was also another primary in the Senate.
They were concluded before
but there was a substitution of names. As regards Akpabio, the candidate that time withdrew.
Yes, but the machine, it was in the public space that the man did not withdraw.
But the party said it was not their candidate.
The party now, that is the big question. The party now says it is not their candidate.
Not their candidate.
And we were told that it is an issue of processes, that the issue of filing, originating summons and all of that.
There must be an improvement on the Electoral Act concerning that. That place needs to be amended in terms of when do you remove the name of a candidate for the other. When would there be substitution of names? There should be no. There are provisions now that concerns the substitution of names. One, that the substitution must be the substitution must be voluntary. One that shouldn't be. You must. It should be. I mean, voluntariness is very key. Not that nobody is forced to withdraw, but the amendment must go further than that. When do you in the nation is not in terms of rules. I know the rules are not many. It's okay, just specific.
I once spoke with the national commissioner in terms of in charge of information and enlightenment. The gentleman that had been in the struggle for
Paul Okoye.
Yes, Paul Okoye. And he was virtually pleading that the issue of information management, that it should be taken off the purview of INEC. That it is actually not, shouldn't be. Because if you look back in the days of Second Republic, even the third, even this Fourth Republic, I remember 1998. For some, all the parties, they were the ones actively mobilizing. But we don't seem to see, the parties don't, they just mobilize for election. Because do we think, is democracy about elections alone?
Of course not.
We have not reached out to elections.
The country went through years of militocracy, and we started our democracy in 1999. I mean, I won't call it. We haven't arrived yet.
This is still civil rule.
We haven't arrived yet, but we left where we were in 1999. We have left that place. We may not get to where we are supposed to be, but things have actually improved. There's still room for improvement. Well, the only thing I think we can do is very clear, and just the grace to do it and the commitment to do it is for us to agree. So there must be a serious conference in whatever name. Is it a constitutional conference we're going to call it? Is it going to be ethnic conference? Whatever conference I want to do, that all these issues can be tabled and agreed upon by all Nigerians. I consider that our legislature and National Assembly, they are doing their part, but many of them too, they are still far apart from their constituency. Many of them, even when they have constituent office, they are not relating properly with the populace. So many of them are not really sure of what their constituency wants. So I would plead that we have this conference again that will be binding. It won't be like other conferences we have had, that the result will be binding on all the issues, so that all these issues can be looked into and agreed. And just that the political will to do it is what I'm praying for, that we do it and agree on so many issues, like the issue you raised concerning unbundling of INEC, the issue concerning substitution of candidates, several issues like that, and we must agree and find a way to move forward. But notwithstanding the challenges faced by INEC, my brother, it is not easy to conduct election in Nigeria.
It is not.
It's not easy at all.
It is not.
As you are trying to pull it up, several people are trying to pull you down.
Subverting the process.
Exactly.
I had a conversation with an elder statesman, Dr. Yemi Farumbi, a living legend in the broadcast space. The conversation was about accountability and good governance. And in the process of the conversation, sir, he said, are we sure Nigerians actually desire to have good governance? And I was taken aback. He said, look, we just go and cast our vote. After election, we do not follow, we put people in office, and we do not follow up with them in terms of, yes, this is what we asked for, what are you doing there, and all of that. We just go to sleep and then wait for another cycle of election. What should Nigerians be doing to follow up actively with people that put in office?
Well, that's a billion-dollar question, and I agree with him totally. We are not doing enough to follow up with our
the public office
holders. We are not doing enough. Many of us, apart from very few of us, know who our councillors are, or who our chairmen are, or the
House of Assembly,
and rep, they tend not to be. We must show more concern for them to be more responsible. Our duty does not end on the day of election. In fact, the day of election, our duty has not started. That's the foundation. Our duty starts on the day of swearing in. That's when our duty starts, and ensuring that all the promises made by the public official that are fulfilled. Where they are not fulfilled, there are processes in the law, in our electoral act and the constitution, where we can recall a legislator, where we can recall a councillor or chairman. How many cases have we had? It has never occurred.
Maybe the case of Dino, the attempts to recall,
but it was not successful.
It was not.
So we need to do more, particularly you elites.
Elites?
Yes, you elites. You need to assist, because an average Nigerian who is looking for his daily meal and is engaged in ensuring that the
staying alive.
But the elite, you have the capacity and the power to follow, to enlighten the public on what to do. We need to do more, because our people need to be more responsible. It's very appalling, and I must say this on here. We have someone who is voted for in a federal constituency, for that matter. He's not even living in that constituency. He's living in another federal constituency.
And he's representing them.
Let me be specific. Somebody that is voted, that is representing Baranov, living in Baran Southwest.
How does he know what life is in that constituency?
So we need to do more. We need to do more. So we need to do more. We need to do more to assist the masses. But notwithstanding, we are getting better. We are getting better.
The political scientist I had a conversation with this morning says maybe we are too much in a hurry as a people, that the countries that we refer to, the United States, the UK, that we're talking about hundreds of years of processes. Are we too much in a hurry?
I will agree. We are too much in a hurry. Nigerians are quite impatient. We want it to be done as quickly as possible. Improvement or development is gradual. For an average Nigerian, we want to get to Lagos within 5-10 minutes. Always in a hurry.
Tinubu had not even spent 1 month before.
Always in a hurry. We want things to change, but there can't be meaningful development without adequate planning. There will be adequate planning, then there will be execution of those plans before we now get results. But Nigeria wants to get results before planning.
Before planning? Wow,
results, but that will never happen. We need to plan. When you plan, then we now execute. When you execute, then because the result will come before we now get proceeds of that of our effort.
Well. Our time flies. It's been an hour thereabouts that we have been in conversation here, live in our studio, with Aresiaka Biola Olaguyo, senior advocate of Nigeria. And also, as I told you, he wears 2 caps right here today because he's also the chairman of the Oyo State Independent Electoral Commissioner. The chairman of Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, OISEC. Of course, elections are coming up at the local government level in April next year. And of course, the preparations, because it's not something you start preparing for in 2-3 months, preparations are actually on. Of course, when those elections are getting nearer, we'll, by God's grace, have him here to talk to us about it all. I really appreciate you, sir, for honoring our invite here. It was a very short notice, and you honored that invite. Thank you so much. We wish you all the very best. Our viewers and listeners, because people watch, they watch radio now, not just television. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless you all. God bless AYODEJI. Bye.